boy who is neglected and joins the anbu to make his skills refined. Before we start, thank you for all the support, it really means a lot to me, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and check the description for the creator of this great fanfic. So let's start now. Chapter 12. Team 7 met at the gate. Roshi saw them and started, "If we do this nicely we might come back early than usual." With that said, we all set out. We reached the usual location where the bandits are looting all the merchandisers and traders. They were passing down the road and Naruto sensed someone in the trees. He thought of one of the men that were there. The man fell dead when the group of bandits saw this and started to fall back to their base. They chased after them but silently to alert them that they are being followed. By the time they reached, it was nighttime. They saw a camp in which there were almost 300 to 350 bandits. Roshi was shocked and said, "This mission just bumped to an A-rank mission. According to the village rules we have to go back to the village, but you all are also ninjas, so your opinion matters whether or not you want to continue or not." We all were starting to think but all got to the conclusion that they were willing. After that, the next week they were scanning in and out of the camp. The next night they executed their plan. Naruto's shadow clone transformed into the man that was guarding the gate and substituted himself. The group killed the guards at the gate like that and they entered the compound. After entering they silently started killing the bandits and got to the building where the bandits kept the women. After entering the room they saw how the women were locked up in cages and most of their clothes were torn. They started from age 7 till 45 or 50. They all were disgusted by the bandits and don't feel pity for killing them. After seeing the group, the women started shouting that won't be their slaves anymore, and this alerted the bandits. Roshi thought, shit, they found we're here. I will hold them while they can escort the women out of here. He told the team the plan. They were hesitant. But seeing the look on Roshi they were sure that there was no room for argument. They reluctantly nodded, but Naruto said, "After the women are safe we come for you, sensei." Roshi nodded and the evacuation began. By the time Team 7 was done and reached the camp, most of the bandits were dead, but those who remained killed them. They were searching for Roshi until they came upon the sight which shocked them. Roshi was handling himself well but didn't see the attack coming from the back and he was stabbed from the back of his heart. Naruto was rushed at Roshi and killed the man on the way, which killed Roshi. Naruto's eyes started to burn. He was screaming for two reasons. First, that Roshi was dead, and second, that his eyes were burning. Then he heard a voice that he recognized as Itachi and he was saying, "Behind you, Naruto, what happening?" But he held his arm out and said in a low voice, "Almighty push." After this the whole bandits that were around were sent back sailing and were crushed immediately to death. Itachi saw Naruto in surprise and saw something strange. His eyes were no longer blue, it was purple and had rings in them and have one tomo in each ring of his eye. He guessed that Naruto awakened a new dojutsu but didn't know what was it. But quickly shook that thought off and asked if Naruto was alright. Naruto just nodded and said, "Although we have completed the mission we did lose our companion, let's go back to the camp and rest. Then next day we will return to Konoha." Itachi nodded but asked, "Naruto, what happened to your eyes? It is purple and have rings in them, you have a tomo." Naruto was also shocked but said, "Even I also don't know what it is, we might get our answers when we got back home and give a report." Naruto then got up and started to move with Itachi to find Yugao and tell the plan. While this was going on he was talking with Kurama. He asked, "Kurama, what happened to my eyes? Brat, you unlocked your second gift, which is Rinnegan. These eyes are of my father's Sage of Six Paths. This is a rare dojutsu and its other name is God Eyes. It has 6 abilities that we will start training on when we reached Konoha. Plus keep it a secret for now because you're very young to handle shinobi." Naruto nodded but asked, "If it was a gift then why didn't it awaken when we met? Plus how could I deactivate it? Every dojutsu is activated when the user goes through emotional pain. That is why it is activated now. And for the second question, it might work or might not. Stop channeling chakra into your eyes and it might work, or you might have put on a very high genjutsu." Naruto nodded but hoped that it might deactivate by stopping channeling chakra into his eyes because he is weak at genjutsu. He stopped channeling chakra and it worked. Itachi asked Naruto how did he deactivate it. He told that he will tell him tomorrow. Then they reached Yugao and told them that Roshi is dead and that they have to go to Konoha back tomorrow morning and report to the Hokage what has happened. Yugao was stunned that in their first crank they have lost someone but nodded nonetheless. The next day while they were going back to Konoha, Naruto pulled Itachi aside and told, "Itachi, the last day you saw the dojutsu named Rinnegan, I don't know the abilities but can you please keep it a secret because it is a new dojutsu and many would kill me or kidnap me for breeding. Plus I will show it when I have mastered it. Itachi nodded at the request but asked, how would you master it? Naruto just smiled but didn't answer because he know if he says that Kyuubi is helping him, he would be in big trouble, so he said nothing. They reached Konoha and reported to Hokage. It gave Minato a headache but didn't say anything to the team and dismissed it. He did that because he knew it would be stressful for the team. The team started to train hard because they don't want anyone from their precious people or comrades to die. Yugao started her training with sensei in Kenjutsu. Itachi got trained by his father on jutsu because his sensei don't use ninjutsu most of the time. Naruto started to train with Kurama and his Jiji. 1 year time skip throughout the year they took most of the mission. They have done 400 ranks, 150 C ranks and 50 B ranks. Their team was also called Team Prodigy. Their sensei called them for a meeting saying that it is important for them. They reached the training ground and waited for their sensei. He came and started, this is important for you because. Cliffhanger no jutsu, just kidding. Chapter 13. This is important for you because we have been selected to protect the daimyo's son. Be proud because you have been selected to protect him. Shikaku said. The team nodded and proceeded to go to Hokage Tower. When they reached they were greeted by Minato. They were given the scroll and they nodded. They were given 1 day to pack and go. Naruto went back to the Namikaze household and saw his godfather have came back. He was talking to Minato about the child of prophecy. The elder great toad said that the child of prophecy shall have ancient powers of the great sage of 6 paths. The child of prophecy would be born and his or her parents would be the yellow flash and the red hot-blooded habanero. It shall bring peace or destroy the world. Minato felt happy because his child would be the one to save the ninja world and ends the cycle of hatred. But also scared that it might destroy the world, and he asked his sensei, who do you think this would be, either Menma, Naruto, or Naruto? Jiraiya said, Minato, I am sorry to say this but I don't think Naruto would be the child of prophecy because I don't see the potential in Naruto. Minato, you have to take the risk and believe in the toads. We have to train Menma and Naruto, and Naruto might come in between the training of the twins. I prefer you give him his apartment and say you must grow up maturely. Minato was hesitant at first but nodded nonetheless. Naruto was standing behind the door and had heard everything and his heart sank. He could not believe it that his father and godfather would say this. He silently packed his things while Kurama was comforting him by saying that they do not how strong he is and how they will pay if they ever said that to him. The next day they all went out for the mission. Chapter 14. Throughout the route, Naruto was silent and was thinking about how he would show his family his strength and they will accept him back. While he was thinking, the other members of the team were irritated and worried. Irritated because the daimyo's son is a brat and is ordering the team to his things like massaging him and playing ridiculous games with him. Worried because usually, Naruto would not be thinking so much about something. After some time Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when sensed a large amount of chakra hidden in the trees and he alerted his team to be on their guard. Then the masked man came out and said, oh, you are a sensory type, that's unfortunate, I thought I would do this silently at the time when you will rest. But shall we dance? The team got ready but they all noticed a Sharingan through the hole of the masked man and then they attacked the intruder. Itachi did the hand signs and did the fire style, fireball jutsu. Tobi dodged easily but Itachi asked, who are you? Tobi said, it doesn't matter what my name is. And countered the punch from Itachi and with an uppercut sent Itachi flying. Yugao brought out her sword and coated it with fire chakra and sent a fire style, dragon slash. It went right through the Tobi and cut 7 trees down. Yugao was shocked that she was unable to block the punch at the gutted and the wind was knocked out of her. Naruto sent a water style, water bullet jutsu, and like Yugao's attack, it went right through Tobi. Tobi attempted to sweep Naruto's leg but he dodged it. Naruto did a roundhouse kick but it was for nothing. While Tobi and Naruto were fighting, Shikaku started to plan to defeat the masked man. The masked man did a right sweep but Naruto dodged it and suddenly he was sent flying back by a kick from the masked man. Then Tobi froze because of the shadow binding technique from Shikaku but he smirked under the mask and he swirled out of there. He appeared behind Shikaku and stabbed him through his stomach. Sensei, 3 of them shouted and the masked man proceeded to the daimyo's son while he was screaming. Naruto fought through his pain and stood up and started to run towards the daimyo's son. He pleaded with himself to go fast. Then the whole background began to slow down and he noticed that everything is normal with him but not for long because he tripped and it became normal. Tobi killed the daimyo's son and said, you all are pathetic. If I were you I would talk with my sensei one last time before he goes to the afterlife. After saying this he kamui'd out of there. All the team members gathered around their injured sensei and started crying. Itachi now activated his Sharingan because of the trauma. Naruto Rinnegan activated on its own and there was fourth tomo began to appear. Then the King of Hell came out of the ground and took Shikaku and put it in his mouth and began to chew. The whole Team 7 was baffled and became angry because something came out of nowhere and took their sensei without listening their sensei's his last words. But then when it opens its mouth again they as well as Shikaku were shocked seeing their sensei fine. The King of Hell went back in the ground. Naruto heard Kurama saying, Narula, this Naraka path also known as the King of Hell helps you restore anybody from any state except death. You can gather intel too but it will kill the person too. It will take a lot of stamina to do control this path so I suggest you up to your training. Naruto nodded because he can feel his consciousness leaving him. Then he passed out. Chapter 15 Naruto opened his eyes but closed them after bright light hit his eyes. Then his eyes began to adjust to the light then he spotted his team sitting beside the door and waiting for him to wake up. As soon as they saw he was up everyone rushed to him, except Shikaku. He came walking normally. And started to ask him how he is feeling, etc. Yugao hugged him in tears but quickly let him go because of how embarrassing it was. Then Shikaku asked the main question, Naruto, how did you heal me because I know you don't know medical ninjutsu. Naruto sighed and activated his Rinnegan with 4 tomos and showed it to his team. They all were shocked. Yugao was shocked because she didn't knew that Naruto have dojutsu and Shikaku was because he knows that Naruto's parents do not possess a dojutsu and for the tomos because Ahei never seen any dojutsu other than the Sharingan. He was thinking for the possibilities for how Naruto got the dojutsu. Itachi was shocked because he can see 4 tomo and last time he saw the eyes it was 1 tomo and getting 3 more tomo is very hard in a year. Shikaku asked, Naruto, do you know what this dojutsu is and how you got it and the powers of it? Naruto nodded and answered, I know what is this dojutsu is but I don't know how I got it. And he said because how sensitive Kurama part it is. That is why he's saying this. Its power but I will tell on one condition that you will not tell anyone. I will reveal when I am ready to show and master its power. They nodded and he started, this dojutsu is known as Rinnegan is to know how I know its name and powers. My godfather have met with a person who have Rinnegan and have told me the stories. It have many powers but I don't all of it but I can describe the powers I have used. They nodded again and he continues, my first power is gravitational manipulation. I can push and pull things. I can fly but I need more concentration for it. I can increase or decrease weight of any object. Second power is I can summon any summoning animal. Third is I can change my parts of body and shoot rockets from it. And he was showing also all the paths like pulling flowers from the vase and pushing it. Summoning a cute fox and changing his hand. While the fourth power you saw it but I can't show it now because it takes a lot out of me. It can heal people and I can gather intel from it. I would have 2 more powers but still I have to master these powers. They all were baffled that Naruto have so many powers from his Rinnegan. They nodded and left their ways. Itachi went back the Uchiha compound to show his father that he have unlocked his Sharingan. Yugao went home to master her Kenjutsu skills. Shikaku went to research about the new dojutsu. After half hour an anbu came at the hospital and told Naruto that his father have told him to be at the Hokage's tower as soon as you dispatch. He nodded and waited. After an hour he was dispatched and he shunshined out of there to Hokage's tower. He reached and knocked the door. From Anathit's side came a voice said, come in. He entered and saw his mother and father there and he understood what was going to happen but he didn't say anything and let his father and mother continue. Hello Naruto. They both greeted but he simply nodded. They thought it was a bit rude but shrugged it off. Naruto, we have to say something to you. We have decided that you have to grow up with experience to be alone if there is no one else to help you grow. That is why we will give you your own apartment. They said a little bit hesitantly. But to their surprise Naruto did nothing but said, no problem, I can understand. But inside he was heartbroken and Kurama said, they do not know value of you, we will show them when the time is right. Naruto took the keys of the apartment and went there to see how big apartment is. And it was same apartment as normal canon. After he checked the apartment he saw he needed his supplies and food. So he went to buy it like some vegetables, fruits, etc. and kunai, and while he was going to pay for the kunais he saw a blade that was dragon head handle and green color inside and black teeth. It was like Naruto was pulled towards it. After unsteathing it and seeing its beauty he understood that this katana was made for him. He tried to add some chakra and it cackled with electricity. Then he bought it and went to his new apartment. By the time he did these things it was night. He went to the Namikaze household to take his things and move it to his new apartment. He opened the door and went upstairs to his bedroom and took his stuff and was coming down, but he listened something that it broke every bond that he had with his family. They were saying, "Menma and Naruto, we have a good news for you. We have news from your godfather that you too may be the child of prophecy, so we will start your training from another week." After hearing this, twins began to cheer and they all were happy. Naruto said nothing and shunshined to his apartment and unpacked his things. He went to his bed and cried till he drifted to sleep. Chapter 16. The next day when he opened his eyes, he was shocked because he not at the Namikaze household, but the memories of the last came back and he realized he is basically abandoned, but inside he knows he was abandoned when his siblings were born, but he didn't said anything to anyone. He got out of the bed and did the normal morning routine. When he was done and went out to the training ground 7 to meet with his teammates and sensei. They all reached at the same time and Shikaku started, "Hello, I hope you are ready to begin your training for Chunin exams. It would be in next 6 months, so we have to start training now to be prepared." They all nodded and did the physical training like 200 push-ups, 200 sit-ups and 20 rounds around the training grounds while wearing 30 pounds for Itachi, 25 pounds for Yugao and 40 pounds for Naruto. And he is wearing gravity seals also. At the last chapter he wore it, but he forgot to release because he was thinking. It was difficult for all of them, but they did this nonetheless. They were tired, but after taking rest they started sparring with only taijutsu, and it went on for the next month. In this month Naruto began to train his Rinnegan abilities, like taking less time to push or pull things, decreasing the time to make his body into Ashura path, taking less stamina to use King of Hell, taking less time to summon animals. After the month and after they did their exercise, Shikaku said, "We shall start your ninjutsu training. We will first check your natures Itachi and Yugao, because I don't know, I would bring scrolls according to that." They nodded, but Naruto said, "Sensei, I would like to do ninjutsu training alone with Gigi so I can have some ace to keep." Shikaku nodded and he understood it because he would also like to have some ace up his sleeve. Naruto got to the Sarutobi compound and spot his Gigi and got there. He asked his Gigi to help him train for Chunin exams. Hiruzen happily and started. Throughout the months he learned jutsu like water style, water sword. It creates a sharp sword made of solid water in the user's hand. As the user's control improves, he can manipulate the shape and size. Water style, water armor. A thin layer of water covers the user's whole body. At the basic requirements, it gives protection against fire techniques by dampening the effects, as well as nullifying some taijutsu attacks. While the armor is on, it constantly draws out small amounts of both the user's chakra and stamina, and thus can only be kept up for a limited style. Mud ball. A very useful technique used to slow down their opponents. The user spits out a large ball of mud. The mud is kept together with chakra and, when it strikes a hard surface, it hardens, slowing down movement of the person hit or weighing down an item. Once it has turned solid, only a strong person can break it. Earth release, mud river. In this common stone jutsu, the user converts part of the floorground that he and his opponent are standing on into a raging avalanche of mud and earth. The opponent quickly loses his standing and starts sliding wherever the mud river will take style, earth holding. This technique allows the user to manipulate the earth below an opponent's feet to rise up and grab hold onto both their legs. The earth is rather durable, and can only be physically forced away by taijutsu specialists and human tanks. Earth release, earth element sword. Similarly to earth shuriken, the user picks up dirt, or earth, molds chakra into the dirt, earth, and forms a sword. It isn't as sharp or powerful as a real sword, and is destroyed after a few hits. Wind style. Blade of wind. This technique is a pinpoint slashing strike, where the user emits chakra from their fingertips and materializes it into a near invisible weapon that assaults the enemy in a gust of wind. Wind style. Wind dragon. The user must have high chakra control it takes of a dragon and attacks the enemy. It is very effective. Lightning style. Electric overdose technique. The user takes one post to channel a large amount of electricity into a limb, making the chakra visible. Upon contact with the opponent, the electricity is shot into him and the target's weight almost doubles, making it harder for the victim to release. Lightning magnet. This jutsu creates electrical clouds around the area that attract metal. Any metal projectiles thrown will be altered because of the clouds. This can be dangerous for both parties. Lighting style. Flash step. The user gather electricity in feet and disappear and appear where user wants. It is used in short distance. Fire release. Dragon fire technique. A jutsu that sends a stream of fire towards the opponent, originating from the user's mouth. In some cases it has been seen to take on the form of a dragon. Capable of being used like a flamethrower, prolonged exposure has been known to transform boulders and cliff sides into molten piles of release, incinerating hail technique. By focusing their chakra into their hands, the user can then lift them skyward and create a salvo of small fireballs that will rain down all around them, incinerating anything they touch. Since the fireballs have no solid state, they can only do damage by burning things. These fireballs are about half the size of one's closed release, flame spread technique. This jutsu allows the user to extend the flame from their hand to any weapon or item they may be holding. This creates a surrounding layer of flame around the object, but the object is unharmed. This can only extend to a length of 3 feet maximum, or the length of a medium-sized sword. Wood style. Deep forest emergence. It creates a dense growth of trees, controlling how it grows using his chakra. The tree's life force is immense enough to split the earth as they sprout and further pierce through any other obstructions they encounter. This growth is also fast enough that it can capture targets before they have a chance to escape. Wood style. Underground root jutsu. It can manipulate the terrain, bringing out underground roots of varying sizes to fit various offensive situations, such as using the roots for trickery, misdirection and restriction. One can also use a large-scale version, bringing out massive roots over a larger area that tangle around each other with such force that anyone caught in between is violently crushed to death. For Kenjutsu he began learning his mother's style as to how he learned that he used wood style. Mayfly Jutsu to enter the Namikaze household library, and it had Kushina Kenjutsu style and Rinnegan and Flying Rajan. Though he did not learn Flying Rajan was not same level as his father in Fuinjutsu to try Flying Rajan, and he did not mastered Rinnegan, but he completed the second step. Chapter 17 The Chunin Xmas was at Leaf Village, so they do not have to travel anywhere. Team 7 met at the academy entrance. They greeted and Shikaku said, I am going to say 2 things that are: first, always look underneath, and second, make me have to go room 301 inches. They nodded and entered. When climbed up the second floor they saw room 301, but they understood that it was genjutsu. Yugao was going to say all that it was a genjutsu, but Naruto stopped her by putting hand on her mouth and said, don't say anything, they are weeding out the weak if they can't spot this simple genjutsu. Yugao nodded and there were some red tint on her cheeks because Naruto was so close to her, but she would die before she would admit. They went to room 301 and sat at their given places. Then exam proctor came and announced the same rules as canon, and they started their exam. Itachi used his Sharingan and copied the answers from the one who was writing answers without a problem. Yugao naturally know the answers because she was clever. Naruto activated his Rinnegan and he could see further range and he copied. Then came the final question, same as canon, and most the participants left and there were only 8 teams left. They passed and the proctor said that they have to reach training ground 44 tomorrow morning. All nodded and left. Itachi said, we should make formation and plans for the next exam because I have heard that the training ground 44 is dangerous and it have big creatures and etc. They nodded and Naruto said, we make the plan at my home. They nodded and left. Naruto started to lead towards his apartment, which was opposite direction from Namikaze compound, so Itachi noticed and asked, Naruto, where are we going? Namikaze compound is behind us. Naruto turned and faced Itachi and said, my mother and father have gave me a apartment to grow up alone because they say I have to experience this living without. He said in normal tone, but Itachi and Yugao can see heartbroken went to the apartment and made their plans. Next day they reached the Forest of Death and saw they were TBE last. The proctor continued giving same rule as canon. Team 7 had Earth Scroll and they entered the forest. They began to search the area for anyone, but they were not lucky enough. Whole day passed but there was no one. Naruto said, we can't anyone like this, so we should head towards tower because there would be teams setting up trap to capture other teams, so we should spilt and attack the team. They nodded and went to sleep. Next day they got up and went on the same direction, but they spilt it up. Naruto sensed a team hiding in trees and he saw their headband and understood they were from Cloud. Naruto signaled his team to attack. They shunshined behind the 3 and chopped their necks. Unfortunately for them they found Earth Scroll. They spilt it again and found an Sand team. The team leader said to Naruto, you're alone, so give us your scroll or we will kill. Naruto just snorted and went a set of hand signs and said wind style, wind scythe. Naruto nodded to Itachi and Yugao to continue. Itachi did fire style, fire dragon, and Yugao did lightning style, lightning bolt. The collaboration did a lot of damage, but the Suna team was knocked out. And Naruto could do this with his shadow clones too. They finally find a heaven scroll and they began their journey to the tower and reached it. They opened the scroll and Naruto understood that it is a summoning scroll, he said to the team, and they threw away the scroll. A Chunin appeared and saw the time they have arrived. She was shocked because they have broke the previous record, the 2 days, and they have done it for 1.5 days. Then she told them that 3 days to rest and Holage will tell the rest. Chapter 18. I'm kind of busy but I'll continue for you guys. Team 7 was resting at the given room and waited for the other teams to come. While waiting for other teams, Naruto and Yugao were growing closer. Naruto now understood that he had some feelings for Yugao but said nothing, afraid of rejection. Itachi saw that and can see in Yugao's eyes that she have some feelings too. He encouraged Naruto to go ahead and confess, but he said, Itachi, I am very nervous but I will think about it after the exams because I have to show everyone that I shouldn't be underestimated. Itachi nodded and understood that Naruto is referring to his family. After 3 days only came through. One was from cloud and other from mist. When they met at the ground and saw Minato. When the teams were standing side by side, Kurama sensed something and told Naruto, Naruto, I am sensing Isobu and Matatabi's chakra here. Last I am remember is that Isobu was at mist and Matabi was at cloud, so be careful. The girl with blonde hair have Matabi and the guy with blonde hair pink eyes have Isobu. They can interact with each other but they would not expect us to be working together because they think I am too stubborn to work with a human. Naruto laughed internally at the last part but nodded and thanked Kurama. He watched Yugito and Yugura with side-eyed checking for any weaknesses but found none. Matabi told the same about Yugura and Naruto. Yugura was also told by Isobu. They watched each other side-eye. And Cloud and Mist send their Jinchuriki because they wanted to show that powerful warriors too. While this was going on, Minato did the speech how Chunin exams is important, etc. The main point he said was, you all have 1 week to prepare for the final exams because you might be hurt or anything else. All team nodded and left. Shikaku was waiting outside the training ground for his team and he congratulated them on passing the second round. They nodded. He said, you should rest this week. Though Naruto had other plans. The week passed and Naruto learned something that no one knew except Kurama. The day came finally and they met at Chunin exam stadium. There are a number of people, that is why one person would move to second round, which was Yugao, and she was angry that she didn't get to fight, which Naruto handled and calmed her down. First match was Itachi versus a Cloud Nin. The match began and Itachi activated his 2 Tomo Sharingan. The Cloud Nin sent a lightning style, lightning bolt, which Itachi dodged. Then Cloud tried Headhunter Jutsu but Itachi substituted out of there. Then both met their eyes and Cloud Nin gritted his teeth and draw out his sword and channel his lightning chakra in it. He headed straight at Itachi, who surprisingly just stood there. The Cloud Nin stabbed him and stood with pride, but soon the world faded away and Itachi was standing behind him with a sword to his neck. The Cloud Nin was shocked and, how did you place Genjutsu on me? Then Itachi just smirked at him and told him to surrender, which he did. Itachi didn't say anything because he is not foolish to reveal his secrets. At Hokage stands, Hokage, you have got a prodigy and a new Chunin. Said the third Mizukage, which Minato nodded. I was pissed but said nothing because he knew that Yugito would handle it. Back to the stadium, the second match was a Cloud Nin versus Mist Nin, which was a draw. Then the third match was Yugura versus Mist Nin, which he forfeited because of the fear of Yugura as he knows the power of him. The fourth match and the last match of the first round, which was Yugito versus Naruto. Both were excited for this match and had determination. At Hokage stands. I said, Minato, your son would lose here because Yugito is the strongest genin in my village now. Minato said nothing but he was thinking that Naruto might lose here, but little did he knew. Back to the stadium. The match started but of neither of them moved. Then Yugito started doing hand signs and did fire style, fireball jutsu, which fire was blue. Naruto substituted out and attacked at her from back with his sword. Kushina was shocked as she recognized the style which Naruto was using and she knew she never teached Naruto. Back to Naruto, who sweeping at Yugito, who was dodging it. Then Naruto added fire and wind chakra to his sword and shocked everyone at the control at elements of his. He sends a combination style, Dragon Slash, which hit Yugito but it was at her shoulder. Yugito grunted and asked Matabi, Mata, can you send your chakra? And she said, Cat, you can't handle it now. Yugito said she would handle it. Then outside, Yugito got enveloped in a one-tail cloak. It stunned everyone and people of Leaf started booing because this chakra is reminding them of 9 tails. Yugito her state of mind right there and started to attack Naruto randomly. Naruto makes 2 shadow clones and spread them. Original did wind style, Wind Scythe and his first clone did Fire Style. Fire Dragon and his second clone did Lightning Style, Lightning Bolt. This made a huge explosion because it had more power than the team did. After all, they did not want to kill the team. This stunned everyone because of the explosion, and Minato and Kushina were also stunned that Naruto had 3 natures, but they saw that Hiruzen was not shocked and thought did Hiruzen knew. But they didn't ask him. The attack did nothing to Yugito, but she became madder, and Minato thought to stop the match but decided against it. Then made 3 more shadow clones and spread them again. He decided that he would show everyone he had wood style, and Kurama chuckled at it and told, "Yes, I want to see the face of that blonde when he sees that he had made a big mistake kicking you out." Which Naruto chuckled at and nodded his head. He distracted Yugito from his shadow clone, and it happened as he planned. After some time everyone was thinking about what he was doing. But his team knew that he must have some plan. Naruto just dodged for some time until his shadow clone did their part, which happened now, and he lured Yugito there, which she did. Then suddenly stop and Yugito was about to attack, and everybody was thinking why he is not moving, and they got their answer. Naruto made a ram seal and saw Yugito standing and struggling through the paralyzed seal he made. Minato and Kushina had their eyes widen, and it got more wider after they saw what he did after. Naruto did some hand signs and did wood style, tail beast suppression. He did suppressed Matatabi's chakra, and Yugito passed out after that because forcefully suppression her chakra. Team 7 was surprised that Naruto had wood style and never said anything about it. Hiruzen was just smirking and enjoying the looks he is getting from Minato and Kushina. Asked, "Minato, I didn't think your boy had wood style, but by the looks of yours I can see you also didn't know about this." Minato was there stunned and thought how Naruto had wood style. But he didn't knew that he was for more surprise. The proctor announced, "Winner of match Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Everybody in the stadium cheered for him, and Naruto just waved his hands. He went to the stands and saw his team, and they asked, "How do you have wood style and why didn't say about to them?" He said, "I don't how I have it, but I want to keep some ace up my sleeve." They nodded, and after 10 minutes they started the second round. The first match of second round, which was Itachi versus Yugao, and they locked their eyes and nodded. The proctor started the match. Yugao started with ninjutsu. She did lightning style, lightning bolt, which he dodged, and she did fire style, phoenix flower jutsu. Itachi did water style, water bullet. Then she drawed out her sword and he did the same, and they started their sword clash. Unfortunately for Yugao, Itachi have more agility and got cut in her leg, which slowed her down, and she lost as couldn't dodge lightning style, paralyzed jutsu, and she got knocked out. The proctor announced Itachi as winner, and the people cheered for him. The Uchiha clan was most loudest, and Fugaku was proud. The next match was Yugura versus Naruto, and it got some cheers from the people. They got down and the proctor started the match. Yugura moved at very speed, which impressed the cages, though Naruto dodged the punch from Yugura and they got in taijutsu battle. Yugura tried to sweep Naruto's leg, but he dodged and countered it with his punch to gut, which connected, though it did very little to Yugura. Yugura jumped back and did hand signs at very high rate, which impressed everyone, and did water style, water bullet. Naruto used wind style, great breakthrough, which splattered the water. Yugura then got pissed as he was being countered every attack he is throwing at his opponent. Then he got enveloped in his two tails cloak and did a water style, water bomb jutsu, which got amplified with Baiju state, and Naruto knew he had no place to run, so he stood there at Hokage stands. Minato got up from his seat because he might lose his eldest son in exams. Kushina grippled her dress tightly, and Hiruzen was also stunned. Back to stadium, Naruto eyes started to change color from blue to purple and have Tomo and raised his hands, which confused the people but got their answers quickly. Naruto absorbed the jutsu and had his fox grin, and he thought, "I am such a badass," which Kurama agreed on. All at the Hokage's stand were shocked, and Minato, Kushina and Hiruzen were shocked that Naruto had Rinnegan. Naruto got up and he placed in a ram seal and realized some resistance seals from his body, and then he used swift reels, but nobody noticed that because it can't be seen except a dojutsu user, and Itachi saw it as he activated his Sharingan to see any weakness of Naruto for the next match. Naruto got behind Yugura and punched him through the stadium. Yugura recovered from it quickly, though Naruto used universal pull and Yugura to him, and he absorbed Isobu's chakra. Yugura passed due to chakra exhaustion. The proctor announced, winner of the match Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The second round is now over, and now is the finale, which is between Naruto and Itachi. Now we will take 10 minutes break. The crowd cheered more for him. Naruto said to Kurama, Kurama, we need to train on swift, realize it is best at close range, which Kurama nodded and said yes. Naruto reached the stands and saw Itachi coming at him and said, even if you have wood style and Rinnegan, I will not go out without a fight. Naruto nodded and respect for Itachi grew more. After the break, they got down and the proctor came down and started the match. Itachi activated his Sharingan and took out his sword and rushed towards Naruto and he dodged it. Then Naruto took out his own sword and clashed against his rival. Naruto added water and lightning to his sword and did a combination style, Kurama slash. And he named it because he wanted to respect him, and the idea of combining two natures in his sword was Kurama's idea. It cut through Itachi's sword but it only cut Itachi's cheek. Itachi and Naruto made eye contact and Itachi put him in a genjutsu, though Kurama broke it and said, you idiot, don't you if make eye contact with he can put in a genjutsu because you are only floating. Naruto said to Kurama and said he would check it. Naruto then said, how about we end in our last move, and Itachi nodded. Itachi started to make his hand cover with fire and did fire style, burning bird. It was a jutsu which would impact on enemy and give them burn enough to state of a knockout or kill him, but Itachi put less power to not to kill his best friend and rival. Naruto moved his palm forward and a familiar sound swirling came and Rasengan was made, though he made it enough to only keep Itachi down. They both rushed at each other but Naruto activated his Rinnegan and Universal pulled Itachi to him and absorbed Itachi's jutsu and slammed Rasengan on his gut and knocked out Itachi. The proctor came down and said, winner of this round and of the Chunin exams Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Everybody cheered for him and he raised his arm like All Might. Minato, Kushina was shocked that Naruto had learned Rasengan and won the Chunin exams. Minato thought that, I have to talk with Naruto with how he have wood style and Rinnegan. How he learn Rasengan. Chapter 19 Naruto got congratulations on winning the Chunin exams. He met his team and they congratulated him and he nodded. Itachi was healed by the medics and there were no permanent damage. They went to have barbecue to celebrate Naruto winning the exams. During eating, Naruto half-asked half-joked Itachi, I hope you don't dislike me winning the exams or slamming Rasengan on you. Itachi's eye was twitching and Yugao laughed and Sensei smirked. I already knew that I can't win. So no, I don't dislike you, and for the last part one would take revenge one day. Itachi said with a smirk. Naruto just smirked and said, you require a decade worth of training to even hurt me. He laughed at Itachi as his plan backfired. After talking and eating they got out of the restaurant. They went back home and rested. The next day Naruto got up and did his morning routine and got ready to meet with his sensei at the Hokage's tower for the result of the Chunin exams. They met at the tower and greeted each other. They entered the tower and saw the secretary and he guided them to the council chamber. They entered the chamber and all eyes were on Naruto. Shikaku took his seat as Nara's head. Then Minato started, as you know you are here so we decide if you're a Chunin or not. The team nodded. Yugao Azuki, she stepped forward. The results are great, you did great at the exam and you're very good at Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu and average at Taijutsu. We discussed it and now from here on we are promoting Yugao Azuki as a Chunin. Minato said and gave her a Chunin jacket. She took it and put it on and she stepped back. Itachi Uchiha, and he stepped forward. The results are great for you too and you did great at the exam as well. You are great at Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, and average at Taijutsu. We discussed and from now on you are promoted to a Chunin. Minato said and gave Itachi his Chunin jacket which he took and wore. Fugaku had pride in his eyes. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. And he stepped forward. The results are the best and you're great at Kenjutsu, Ninjutsu, Fuinjutsu, Taijutsu, and average at medical jutsu. And Naruto learned some basic jutsu from Hiruzen after his sensei almost died. We discussed and you are not promoted to Chunin. The team was about to protest but Minato continued, instead you are promoted to a Jonin because we saw your skills and intelligence at the exams and decided you have all requirements to be a Jonin. Minato explained and was smiling and had pride in his eyes. He gave Naruto the Jonin jacket and Naruto wore it. The team was shocked that Naruto direct got promoted to Jonin. They were also happy for him because he got promoted. Then Minato said, the team is dismissed and Naruto you will come to my office 2 hours later after finish with the count. I want to talk to you in private. The team nodded and left. Naruto knew what Minato want to talk about. Kurama said, they all are power hungry. They saw your power and now want you back after they kicked you out of their home. Naruto agreed with Kurama. 2 hours later he got to the Hokage's tower and knocked at the door. He heard, come in, and he entered the office and saw Minato, Kushina, and Jiraiya. They greeted him and he just nodded his head. Minato now came to the main point and said, Naruto, now I know you, that's why I are you, so I keeping straight to the point. The first question is, how do you have wood style and Rinnegan? Second is, why didn't you tell us? Third is, how did you learn Rasengan and your mother's Kenjutsu style? Naruto nodded and started, if you know that only Senju can have wood style, so I am a Senju, I don't know how. As for Rinnegan, I don't know. For the second question, the answer is that if put some attention on me after my siblings were born and trained me, then I would have told you. For the third, I don't want to say it because it is my secret. Minato and Kushina tried to deny that they neglect him. Then Minato said, I was busy with paperwork and Kushina was with your siblings. Minato tried to defend him and Kushina, but Naruto said, I know you were busy, but you still could make a shadow clone to help me. You did it for the paperwork and played with Menma and Naruto. You could have trained me too, and after my godfather said that my siblings are the child of prophecy. I was happy for them, but you decided to kick me out for them to have some place to grow. Now that I have shown you my power, you are coming back, and now I have my team as my family and I don't need you, as I have made Jonin. Now I can earn more money from missions, so I don't anyone to lean on. Naruto shouted, but not enough to reach outside the room. Kushina was as in tears, realizing how did his son grew up, because most of her life grew up like that before she and Minato got together. Minato was holding his tears back and comforted Kushina and said nothing to Naruto because he knew he was at fault here. Jiraiya was ashamed of himself for kicking out his godson. Minato then asked, Naruto would ever forgive us? Naruto was silent for a minute, then said, I would think about it. Now should I leave if you don't mind? And Minato nodded his head and Naruto left. Naruto reached his apartment and opened his door and sat down. He ate ramen because he didn't want to cook anything now. He was thinking how it would turn out if his parents would not neglect or if he forgive him now. Naruto was brought out of his thoughts when he was pulled to Mindscape by Kurama and he asked him why he was brought here. Kurama said, we should see what would be your summoning since you are free right now. And Naruto looked at him with a deadpan expression and said, I can summon any summoning, Kurama, so why I would need a summoning? Kurama said, I know you fool that you don't need summoning, but you can't learn Sage Mode from the Rinnegan summoning. You have to have a summoning contract to learn it. You can learn about gathering nature chakra and you would be very powerful with it. Naruto nodded his head and asked how would he know which summoning animal would be his. Kurama said, I would show you the reverse summoning technique and you would go to realm of whichever summoning you are suited the most. After you get your contract, then whenever you reverse summon yourself you would to the summoning realm of the animal you have. Naruto nodded his got out of his mindscape and did hand signs which Kurama sent to his mind and he reverse summoned himself and found out he was in some type of mountain. Then he started to walk, then voice came, oh, it seems someone have come here after some centuries, it is nice to see, so I am asking why are you here, human? The dragon said, coming out from the shadow. It was red in color and had scales. It had yellow eyes and two small horns coming out. Naruto saw this and answered, I wanted to have a summoning contract, so I reversed summoned myself and found out that I was here. Dragon was impressed that anyone would come here. Then he said, even if you came here like you said it was, I would have to take a test to see if you were really worthy of having dragon summoning. Naruto nodded his head and said that he was ready for the test and asked what was the test. The dragon said, the test is that you have to survive my strongest attack or else you would die here. Naruto gulped, but he nodded his head to say that he was ready. The dragon started to power up and attack, then Naruto activated the Rinnegan and did Almighty Push, which had a lot of power in it. The attack of the dragon dispersed at the pressure of the Almighty Push. The dragon was impressed but saw that the boy had the Rinnegan. He was shocked that a Rinnegan user was still there, but he asked the boy, you have Rinnegan, tell me how you have it. And why do you need the summoning, because you can summon any summoning. Naruto answered, for the first question the Rinnegan came from my partner inside me, that is the 9 tails he gave me as a gift to me. I would have given you his name but he doesn't like it. For the second question I know I can do that but I can't learn the Sage Mode and I would need a summoning contract, that is why. The dragon nodded his head and said, you have the test so you can sign the summoning contract and we can be summoned when you need help. My name is Dai and I would be your summoning. Naruto nodded his head. Dai brought the scroll that had the contract. He spread it and said, you have written your name in blood and your 5 fingers in blood. Naruto did as he was told. After he completed it the seal glowed for like 10 seconds, then it returned to normal. Naruto then asked Dai, when would I start learning the Sage Mode? Dai sighed and said, Naruto, you know the sage mode is not easy and it seems you can die if you are not careful, so I would suggest you come here to learn sage mode after some years, like 4 years or so. Naruto was stunned that he might die if he isn't careful, but had determined eyes that he would not die. Naruto nodded his head and thanked Dai for everything and got back to his home and went to sleep because he was tired after this much. The next day Naruto got up and did his morning routine and headed to Training Ground 7 to meet his team. By the time he got there, everybody was there. Shikaku started, congratulations on being promoted. I am very proud of being on your sensei and I now admit that I like my time spent with you. But happy days come to end. Now you all are promoted to Chunin and Jonin, so Team 7 is disbanded from here on. Naruto, Itachi, and Yugao were shocked at the revelation, but Itachi and Naruto guessed it somewhat. Then he said, even though your team is disbanded, you will work still together now because you are young and don't have experience. Tomorrow you would your first a rank mission, so be ready and pack your things for everything. We nodded and left to pack their things. Naruto also packed the 6th level of Fuinjutsu book with him to learn during the trip because he knows that higher rank missions last a long time. The next day came and they all went to the Hokage's tower. They knocked at the door and a voice said, come in, and they entered. Minato began to say, so you all know that your team is disbanded, but you will work for now because you are young and don't have experience, so I would be giving you an A rank for the experience. Now your mission is, Chapter 20, now your mission is to bring Tsunade Senju back to Leaf Mission safely because we need her medical ninjutsu to help with the hospital. The last known location of her was Yume Town, said Minato. The team nodded their head and took the scroll and left the tower. They left the village and headed towards Yume Town, which was 2 days' trip. And I just put Yume Town name, it is not any town but consider it for now. The time felt as if fly by and they reached the town and now they have searched the whole, which luckily Naruto knew something that would help a lot in finding her and summoned some dogs and cat and gave it a picture to find and they spread out. The team went to a hotel and checked in. Few hours a dog had found her on a bar laying flunked and a younger woman with a pig in her hand. The team decided that they would meet her now. They got up and headed towards the bar, and when they entered the bar and they had clutched their noses, it was a full smell of liquor and they didn't like it a bit. Then they sat down in front of Tsunade and the lady and she asked, why are you sitting here? This place is reserved. Is someone from the debt collectors? Are you? She wanted to continue but she was cut off by Naruto and he said, we are here from Leaf and Sen to bring her back. Tsunade stood up and pointed her finger at Naruto and said, I will not go back to that rigid village that took everything from me. It took my clan, lover, and my brother. I will never go back to that village. By the way, who is anyway? Naruto told in a normal voice, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. This is Itachi Uchiha and this is Yugao Azuki. We are here on a mission to bring you back. We can also bring you back forcefully. Itachi and Yugao got a little tense. Tsunade rose her eyebrow and then started to laugh hardly and said, you brat, you are 4 decades young to be at my level. But if you want that, then okay, so then let's then make a bet. We will fight and if I win you all will give me all your money and leave and never come back looking for me. If you win then I will come to village willingly. Now brat, do you accept it? Naruto looked at his team and they first discussed and they made a decision that Naruto would fight her because there is no other option to bring her back. Naruto nodded his head and said, I accept. We are going to forest to not create any destruction here. Tsunade nodded her head and started following them. While they were discussing, Shizune tried to stop her master but for no avail. She also tried the kids to back off but they didn't listen. They came to the forest and Naruto got in his fox fist style and confused Tsunade because she have never saw that style, but she complied and rose her finger and said, I would only require 1 finger to beat you. She smirked. Naruto said, if I were you I would not underestimate my opponent, but well, easy win for me. They started the match and Naruto rushed at her and she slammed her finger down and it cracked the ground. Naruto jumped up and got down with a drop kick which she dodged and attacked him and flicked on his head, but instead of flying away he poofed in smoke. Tsunade eyes widened and thought, a shadow clone. When did he? But was brought out of her shock and saw Naruto going through hand seals and did wood style, 4-pillar prison. Tsunade and Shizune both were shocked and thought, how did he have wood release, and many questions. Tsunade got captured and she felt her chakra leaving her, so she put a lot of chakra on her fist and slammed it down. She got down but she was paralyzed and she looked down to see some seals beneath her, and before she could even think she got knocked out by a Rinnegan by Naruto. The team and Shizune both were in shock, but Shizune shook her head and rushed to Tsunade to check if she is alright, but Naruto said she is fine but only damage at the part 1 hit her Rasengan. Step aside, I would heal her. Shizune was gonna protest, but Naruto said, I want to heal her because I inflicted the damage, so please let me do it. She nodded and stepped aside and got behind Naruto. Naruto activated Rinnegan and summoned the King of Hell and put Tsunade there, and it closed the mouth and chewed and brought Tsunade back to normal, but she was still knocked out. He deactivated his Rinnegan and turned and said, don't ask any questions now, I would answer it when she get up. Shizune nodded her head and took Tsunade to her room and the team followed. The team asked Naruto during they were going, Naruto, you planned it all, don't you? Naruto smirked and said, of course I know I couldn't defeat her with her full strength, but she underestimated me and I took it as an advantage. I first make some sealess shadow clones, then I replace myself with it. Then I captured her in the 4-pillar prison. I knew she would punch it through it, so the shadow clones made a paralyzed seal and she got trapped, and I made a Rasengan and ended it. They nodded their head in understanding. After some hours, Tsunade got up with a headache because she was drunk at the time of fight. Then memories came back to her and she shouted, no. I lost to a brat and now have to go back to village. But calmed after taking some breaths. Then she saw her surroundings and saw the team and Shizune sitting waiting for her to wake up. They came around and Naruto said, I won the bet, Granny. In a cheeky tone. Tsunade got a tick mark and Shizune started laughing, don't call me that, brat. Naruto got quiet after that. Tsunade then asked, brat, how do you have wood style? Naruto then said, I am a senju, that is why. I don't who from my parents is a senju, but my guess would be my father because he was orphan and didn't knew his parents. Tsunade nodded her head and said, you won the bet, brat, so I will be coming back with you to the village and in a way you are my family. So go for now, come tomorrow I would have packed my things by the time. They nodded and left to their rooms. Next day they all got ready to leave. As soon as they left the town they saw something that left them shocked. They saw 200 shinobi. They were from Iwa. They were shouting, we are here to kill the Namikaze. Naruto was shocked that these many shinobi have come here to kill him. Then he turned around and told his team, they are here for me, you all go with her and I will stall them. Go now. The team put a heavy heart and moved while Tsunade was screaming, I don't want to lose my last family again. She was knocked out by Shizune, who injected a sleeping serum inside her, and she was also in tears. Yugao and Itachi had tears going down their faces, and Itachi awakened 3 Tomo Sharingan and they left. 2 days later they reached the village. Throughout the way everybody was crying a lot. Tsunade got up a day after and started screaming at Shizune for doing that, and she was crying a lot too. They reported it to the Hokage and he was stunned, and he sent Anbus to search for Naruto. He never ever thought that Iwa was like that to kill his son for revenge. When Kushina heard the news she was devastated and she screamed at Minato for sending Naruto to the mission. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys liked it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like for more what ifs and support the author. See you guys in the next video.